Hello, I'm Reverend Rick, and it is my honor to be with you today. We really hope that this video is a blessing to you. And if it is, please consider making a donation. People watch our videos locally when they cannot necessarily come to church throughout the United States and the world. So please join us and click the link below and make a donation. Thank you, and let this be a blessing to you.
Let us prepare ourselves and put your hand over your eyes. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. Now your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. And now if you just put your hand over your heart, extend out your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm talking about is that there is nothing to heal, only more God to be revealed. There's nothing to heal, only more God to be revealed. Those are the words from our founder, Ernest Holmes. He penned those words, and what he was saying is, there's nothing to heal, only more compassion to be revealed. Only more love to be revealed. Only more forgiveness to be revealed. There's nothing to heal, only more authentic connection with one another to be revealed. You know, joy and love and peace and harmony and forgiveness, those are all God's street names. Same thing. They are also the I am of who you and I are. We are compassion and love and joy and harmony and the spirit of forgiveness. See, God is not one thing. In fact, God is not a thing at all. God is an essence, an energy, a juice that runs through us and everyone and the world all the time in our life. I love the great Catholic theologian Mary Daly, who said, we need to stop treating God as a noun and start treating God as a verb. Because God is everywhere, doing all things for us. Well, Reverend Georgia, so if revealing more of God within us heals us from that which makes us sad, from that which makes us fearful, from that which makes us discontent, why is it that we don't reveal more God in ourselves and in each other? I think the answer to that question is because we forgot who we are. We forgot that we are God in form. We forgot what our affirmation card says, that we are of God, and the difference is in degree, not in nature. We are not all of God, but God is all of us. See, one of the universal terms for the word God in most religions, in most cultures, is the word creator. Now, everybody has their own word. We have Allah and Elohim and the sacred grandmother tree and God itself. We have all that. But if we were to ask all of those religions to come up with one word that would be universal, it would be the word creator. But unfortunately, it's not what we call ourselves. We don't call ourselves creator. And here's the thing. It's time for that to change. It's time for us to begin to call ourselves creator. And to do that, it's going to take a commitment to change three things. The first thing we have to change is more compassion toward ourselves. More compassion to ourselves. Very few of us grew up in families and in community groups that nurtured the idea that we were creators on the planet. In fact, most of us grew up with a refrain from parents that said, "Who do you think you are?" And they were saying that because they were trying to protect us from what they thought was getting too big for our britches. Big mistake, but our parents did it, and some of us as parents have done it too, because we wanted to socialize our children. The problem with socializing our children is we often socialize their awareness of their divinity right out of them. And so we didn't understand the fact that we are creators. And if we missed it from our parents, then there were plenty of well-meaning folks in our jobs, in our schools, that would help us with that. And if we missed the people in our coworkers and in our teachers, then there was also always the media that would take up the sad shout for us that we were getting too big for our britches, or we should calm it down or listen to words of limitation. You know, several years ago, I read a story about one of my favorite athletes, Lolo Jones, who was a hurdler. Lolo Jones missed the bronze medal at the Olympics by a nanosecond of a nanosecond. That's how fast she was. But she didn't come up. Now, Lolo Jones was a kid whose dad was in prison, whose mom had 5 kids, worked as many jobs as she could to feed these kids. They lost their home. They lived in their car for a while, and then the car was repossessed, and so they had no home at all. And yet still, she kept her vision. She kept her practice. She surrounded herself with people who would support her, and she went to the Olympics. Well, the New York Times, after she lost by, did I say a nanosecond of a nanosecond, the bronze, the New York Times wrote a really mean-spirited article about how if she would have given less interviews and practiced more, she might have won. And it devastated her, and it would have devastated any of us. And she said, look, I practice 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. And yes, I gave interviews because I was asked, but that's not why I didn't win the bronze. But here's the problem. Unless Lolo Jones can find compassion for herself, she's not going to pick up that speed. She had the anger, I would have had it. She had the devastation, I would have had it. But until you find the compassion for yourself, you're not going to be able to heal what needs to be revealed, which is more God that is within you. So the first one is compassion for yourself. The second thing we need to do to change this idea that we're not creators is perseverance. We need to develop the discipline of perseverance in our life. We give up so easily. We say a prayer, and then 10 minutes later, we wait 10 minutes, and the prayer hasn't been answered, and we say, well, not in the cards. I'm just not going to be able to do it. I love what the Buddhists say. They say, we worry so much about what's going to happen in the afterlife that we don't know what to do with a Sunday afternoon. See, we have to have perseverance in our life. The third one, the third commitment we need to do is to do the work. We need to begin to do the work. We need to resist the temptation to just come here on a Sunday and be inspired and be entertained, but also the real work comes in the classes. I mean, I'm glad you're here. And I know that just coming here can also do the little shifts. But if you want a big shift in your life, take the classes. If you've taken foundation, get in this class that's starting right now with treatment and meditation. I'm going to tell you that, you know, some of us say, I just can't meditate. My mind is monkey. I can't do it. We're going to show you how to do it. Everybody can do it. Here's what I tell people. When you say you can't be still for a minute, do you ever go to a movie? Do you run around the movie theater? No, you sit down. If you can go to a movie, you can learn how to meditate. Take that class. Take that class that's coming up in your life. Foundations is going to start in mid-September. If you haven't had foundations, please come. But here's the thing. You come to my foundations class, I'm going to make sure that you are out of your comfort zone at least once during the 10 weeks. Now, I'm going to love you through it. I'm going to compassion you through it. But I'm going to make you a little uncomfortable in there. Why? Because that's going to shift you. And that's really what we want. We want these spiritual principles to be able to work in our lives so that we can have better marriages, more money, better workplaces. It's not so we can be pious. I don't want to be pious, nor am I pious. It's not the point. The point is to have a better life in our life. So we gotta make a commitment to do the work in our life. We have to begin to understand that we are creators. Some people would call that an artist. We're creative people. We're artists. We have to get rid of this idea of thinking that artists are just musicians or poets or painters or that kind of thing. Everybody is an artist. Everybody is creative. You're an artist when you can figure out how to get your kids to eat vegetables. That's artistry. That's creativity in your life. And it goes all, every time if you can get your mate Donna's very creative. She helps me understand when my anniversary is coming up. That's artistry. When you can figure out how to pay your rent and your clothes, get clothes on your kids, that's creativity. That's artistry. We're all creative in our life. You know, God is referred to as the potter in the book of Isaiah because we are the creations from his pottery. Well, you know what? We're all potters in our life, and we need to continue to support that in our life, because when we're not expressing in whatever way we want to express, whether it's conventional artistry or whether it's the artistry of life, whenever we stop ourselves from expressing, we become depressed. And that's when we go to alcohol and food and the internet and all of those places that take us away from our ability to know who we are, to really understand who we are. Well, the good news is that the way that we are creative, that we can be creative, is to learn how to take dictation from the divine. That's all creativity is. Nobody ever has made up anything out of their own. They've simply downloaded it from the universal bank of all knowledge. Ernest Holmes says everything is written on the walls of time. And we just need to download that and begin to understand it. But unfortunately, so many of us are taking dictation from limitation, from the limited voice, the voice of limitation. And sometimes that voice of limitation that we take dictation from answers to the name Mom and Dad. You know, I can always hear my mother saying, Georgia's like a bull in a china shop, you know, and it kind of stuck with me. And so, and as a result of that, I tried to make myself a little smaller so that I wouldn't be so chaotic in life. Well, that's not a healthy thing. That's a limitation thing. Some of us have taken dictation from coaches that said you weren't good enough to make the team. Some of us have taken dictation from teachers that said you weren't smart enough to go to college. Some of us have taken dictation from Sister Mary Margaret, who said you can never sing in the choir. Wherever we took dictation, we might have taken dictation from those people, but I'm going to tell you something. Dictation of limitation never answers to the name God, because God wants you to try everything. Wants you to download an interest, download a creative idea, and try it. It may be for you, and it may not be for you, but you won't know it until you give it a shot. And that's how it's important for us to try it. One of the best books on the subject of taking dictation from the divine is called The Artist Way by a woman named Julia Cameron. Now, Julia Cameron talks about recovering and recovery from things that are missing in our life. I'm going to change it. For one reason is the term recovery for us has, for many, 30% of this congregation probably, has a limited idea of what recovery is because we're in recovery. So, and Julia Cameron also, and myself also, we all, you know, I'm going to change it. I'm going to call it reclaiming. We need to reclaim some things in our life. It comes from the Native American tradition. You know, we study the wisdom of all of these religions in this community because we believe all paths have something to teach us. And sometimes when we get out of our own traditional path, that's when it finally catches on to us. Native American, if you're a Native American and you're stuck in some area of your life, you have a problem in some area of your life, you go to a shaman and he will do, or she will do, a soul retrieval. They'll try and retrieve some part of you that is lost. See, we're not sick. We don't need to recover from illness. We need to retrieve what we've lost in our life. Because we came here fully loaded. You came here fully loaded, nothing missing in you. And so we need to get some of it that we've given back. So I'm going to run through these. And when I say run through them, I mean I'm going to run through 12 things that we need to retrieve or reclaim in our life. And the first one is a sense of safety. Reclaiming a sense of safety. See, when we have, like Alika's beautiful song, when you have a sense of oneness with Spirit, there is no weapon that can be used against you. You can go anywhere, and you can feel safe in this world. So small-minded people who are trying to make us feel weak, when we have a sense of safety, personal safety, we're not as subjective to it. Now here's the thing about preaching on these kinds of things and going quickly through them. It's easy for a white woman to say, hey, you know what? Develop a sense of safety and go out and have a sense with spirit and you're going to be fine. I realize that I have a very privileged way of walking through this planet that not everybody has. I read Facebook about once a week, and I was just heartbroken to read once this week when one of our very own members was walking down the street and was stopped by a policeman and accused of being a sex worker in a community. An African-American transgender woman. You know what? We're all in this together. That's not okay. And it can't be okay for any of us. There's only one of us on this planet, just one. And when one of us, one part of the one of us is injured, we all feel the injury. Whether we're conscious of the feeling or not, we're all hurt by the injury. So we have solution here. We're not just a blah-bitty-blah church. We don't just like, oh, let's all be one. Isn't that nice? No, there's work to be done. In order for us to experience the oneness and walk in truth, there's work to be done. So I want to invite you. We have a summer book study on racism. We do a book study on racism every month, the fourth Thursday of the month in the evening from 7:15 to about 8:30. And this book study is a novel. It's a great novel called The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. It's been around for a long time, but it has some great juice in it. I encourage you to get in it so that when we walk as one, we're walking as knowledge. See, the only thing that's going to solve this stuff is knowledge. That's it. I'm still going to march. I'm still going to have my placards. I'm still going to write my letters. I'm still going to shout. I'm still going to wear my t-shirts. I'm going to do all that stuff. But the real solution to racism in this country, the real solution to homophobia in this country is knowledge. Is knowledge. I always say that the first word in social justice, the term social justice, is social. Why is it social? Because we need to get together with one another and be social and learn how to be with one another, and then justice will follow in our hearts. So the first one is reclaiming a sense of safety for all of us. Now I'm going to read something to you. No, I'm going to go on to the next one, and that is reclaiming your identity. Reclaiming your identity. Now here's the thing. You only have really one identity. That's it. You only have one identity. And that is the identity of a whole, perfect, and complete representation of God on the planet. That's it. That's your identity. Everything else is either added on for your benefit or your detriment. But your identity is simply your whole, perfect, and complete. When I say this a lot, we are not a postcard. We are a moving picture. We are a moving picture. And the star of your movie is Jesus, Lao Tzu, Buddha, Kuan Yin, starring as you. Starring as you. There's nothing you need to add. There may be some subtractions, but nothing you need to add. Now I'm going to read something to you, and I'm going to ask you to resist the temptation to say, oh, I've heard this, I know this, oh yeah, I get this, I've been there. Because you've all heard it. But you need to hear it again. Truthfully, you need to hear it every single day. So I'm going to ask you to do as Jesus asks us, and to listen with a beginner's mind. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I? to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people's people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others in our life. So when you reclaim a sense of identity and you walk as a person who is a representation of God, you give other people the permission to walk in that same way. The next one I want to talk about is reclaiming a sense of power, not bully power, but real power, the kind that comes from the infinite, the kind of power that says, I am awake and aware to who I am, so that when I walk into a room that looks like strangers, I feel like I'm at home. And that only comes when we can reclaim our own personal power in our life. It's also the kind of power that says, I've made mistakes in my life. I'm going to look at those mistakes and know that I can heal from them. I'm not going to stick my head in the sand about my mistakes. I'm not going to lie about my mistakes. I'm not going to try and make my mistakes less difficult than they were. I'm going to look at them and I'm going to tell myself, I can heal from that mistake. Because there's nothing really to heal, only more God to be revealed. The next one is reclaim our integrity. And we're not talking about cash register integrity here. I hope y'all have that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being integrous with your word. What Don Miguel Ruiz calls be impeccable with your word. Julia Cameron says, and I love this, she says, we have two kinds of feelings. We have official feelings, and then we have our real feelings. And haven't you experienced that at times where you've had to have official feelings? Oh, this is happening and people are looking at me, so I will have this feeling because that's what's expected of me. But inside, you're hurting and you're crying. We want you to reclaim your hurting, crying, real, happy, joyous, free feelings, all of them that are real. Let's stop having official, if everybody stopped having official feelings, there would be no need for official feelings in our life. The next one is reclaiming a sense of possibility. With God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. Here's what I'm doing now with my life. I'm asking one question. When I feel stuck, when I have hurt feelings, when I'm feeling victim in the world, and we all feel that, and we say we don't, but we do. We all feel those feelings. I'm asking myself one question, and that question is this: what am I getting out of this? What am I getting out of being a victim in this situation? What am I getting out of having hurt feelings in this situation? Now, I'm not suggesting you don't have your hurt feelings. We want you to have real feelings. But when they begin to dissipate, you got to ask yourself this question: what is it that I'm getting out of this situation? Because there are no real limitations in God. 6 is reclaiming a sense of abundance. The spiritual truth is that we live in an unlimited universe. But until we stop taking dictation from newspapers, from television, from Twitter, from the awfulizers, until we stop taking dictation from that, we simply can't have abundance in our life. Now here's a little practical tip. If there's anybody here who uses the phrase fixed income, stop using it. Stop saying I live on a fixed income. You may have a certain amount of money that comes in every month. Don't attach that to a fixed income. Because what's happening is your consciousness inviting everything beyond that fix to go somewhere else. Maybe me, I don't know, but so no more with a fixed income. income. The next one is reclaim a sense of connection. See, too many of us are feeling isolated on this planet. We have to begin to connect with one another. See, when we miss out on the spiritual creativity, the artistry of others, it hampers our ability to model ourselves after that. So begin to get yourself out there. Be with other people, especially if you're developing an interest in something. Find people who have that interest and go after them. Develop a sense of connection. The next one is reclaim a sense of strength. Most of us in this room have felt a beat down by somebody in our life. Maybe some of us have felt more beat downs than others, but all of us have experienced that in our life from folks who haven't done the work. Don't give them the satisfaction of retreating from life. Don't do it. It's hard. Get yourself a posse. Remember we are one, but keep moving. Keep putting one foot right in front of the other. The next one is reclaim your sense of compassion for yourself and for other people. And that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard sometimes. Sometimes there are rude and mean people around, and we're not as compassionate. Donna and I have started this thing where if somebody's rude to us or mean to us, we've started this thing of saying, gosh, I wonder what their morning was like. And then we make up a whole entire story that touch our heart. Those poor things. We go away saying, oh, those poor things. They have no choice but to be miserable. Develop a sense of self-protection for others and for yourself. We've talked about that a little bit, but we ambush our creativity. We ambush it by trying to protect ourselves from being careful. You know, we have a song in our heart, but we don't want to share it with anybody because they might laugh at us. You know, we have an idea, make the world a better place, but they might laugh at us, and so we have this sense of self-protection. There's no need. There's no need for it. You know what? We all get over not being appreciated in this life, not having our ideas. So we don't need to sabotage ourselves with alcohol and other drugs. The 11th is reclaim a sense of autonomy. Now it seems like a contradiction. Reclaim a sense of connection, of autonomy. But here is what we want you to do. We want you to be with other people, but to know who you are. To do that, you have to spend some time alone. To do that, you have to step back and say, this is who I am. And keep evaluating that for ourselves. You know, this is who I was yesterday. Am I still that today? Is that how I feel? Is that how I define myself today? And the last one is reclaim a sense of faith. I always get a kick out of people who say I'm not a person of faith. I'm not a person of faith. Went to a party recently and somebody came up. You know, I never tell anybody I'm a minister at a party or at a bar or on a golf course. I never say that. But somebody outed me and said, oh, you're a minister. And so somebody felt the need. I didn't ask. Felt the need to come up and say, I'm not a person of faith. Okay, that's fine. But what I really wanted to say is, liar, liar, pants on fire. Of course you're a person of faith. Everybody is a person of faith. It's a question of what we have faith in. Do we have faith in an almighty God who loves us and shows us the way, or do we have a faith in limitation? And I'm not enough. Everybody is a person of faith. So I encourage you to get that book. It's called The Artist's Way. And begin to look. I had to run through those because of time, but they're really pretty powerful to reclaim these parts of ourselves that get lost and stomped on sometimes. Let's take this message and pray. Knowing that there's only one power, and it's the power of love, and it runs through me, and I just let it be. Even when I'm not feeling it, I look for it. Ooh, I don't feel it. There it is. Where it is, God is. Wherever I am, God is. I give thanks for that. I release His word into the law, and together we stay. And so it is.